you know about this thing called the Napkin presentation. As I was coming up as a network marketer, this was like, to me, when I first heard about this and learned about this kind of changed my life, because I realized that it made me think in terms of simplicity, that I could sit down with a friend, at a restaurant, and I could just open up a napkin. Like, if you imagine, just unfold a napkin, have a pen, and say, let me show you what I'm doing, right? And just kind of explain the concept in like simple graphics or simple words or pictures and everything, to show them what it is that I'm doing and to get them excited, right? And then they could just take the napkin with them, if they wanted to, or they could throw it in the trash if they weren't interested. But this is a great thing. And I was really excited because, this weekend, in fact, my wife and I got together with two friends of ours that we hadn't seen in a while, and we have this diner just serves the greatest breakfast on the planet. And so we always, whenever we meet up, we always want to go there because we used to go there a lot years and years ago, and we still go there. And we were there, and my buddy's at the table, and he says, "So what are you doing these days?" And I said, "Oh man, I'm doing this project called Sosana, man. It's incredible." And he said, "Well, what is it?" And my wife, she had to look in her eye. Here he goes. He's going to, here he goes. Right. And I said, "Hey, he asked, baby. He asked." I mean, fish got to swim, birds got to fly.
Salesman got to sell
with it. Right. We got to do within our nature. So I grabbed, I said, "Hey man, let me show you, So I didn't have a pen. The server came over. I said, "Hey, do you have an extra pen?" She was like, "Sure." I said, "You're not going to get it back for a while. So is that okay?" And she said, "Yeah, I got lots of pens." And I said, "Great, man." And I sat down with him next to him, and they weren't even paying attention. They weren't even paying attention. My wife was probably just saying he can't help himself. And I shared with him what it was that we were doing. Well, I told someone the story later that day, and as I was telling them, they started saying, "What did you say? Okay, how did you say it?" Okay, so what are you doing? They said, "I'm taking notes." And I'm like, "You're taking notes? Maybe I should have saved the napkin for you." And they said, "I wish I could have seen that." So guys, I'm going to give you the visual depiction of what I actually shared with them, right? So you can see it. I mean, because sometimes I know we're on here talking about it, but sometimes when you can just see stuff and the images kind of stick on your mind, it kind of clarifies what you're doing and what you're thinking. And then hopefully this will help you guys have a better understanding of it, and maybe even give you some idea or concept of how to share it, or maybe you can just share this video with people afterwards. So, I said, "Hey man, I'm working with this company. It's called Sosana." He doesn't know a lot about crypto, but he understands crypto, right? But he doesn't know a ton about it, but he does know what crypto is. And he knows that there's a lot going on, and he knows a lot of people are making money. He also knows a lot of people are losing money. So it actually made sense for Sosana, right? And I said, "Man, I said, here's the cool thing, just to start off. And I wrote this down. It stands for shiny object syndrome and nothing accomplished," which he thought was hysterical, right? He was like, "Okay." That's kind of unique. He said, "But yeah, I bet you a lot of people vibe with that." And I was like, absolutely. And I drew a bunch of arrows because this was not the first time I did this. And I said, "So here's what it is," right? I said, "Sosana has this really cool, excited, and committed community." So I wrote community down on the page, and I said, "They got this really cool, committed, and excited community." And the reason why these guys are committed and excited, now you're going to think this is funny when I first say it, because before I tell you the next thing, but the reason why they're really excited is because every time they buy Sosana tokens, they sell Sosana tokens, they transfer Sosana tokens, they're charged a 3% tax. And I always hesitate, because I know that makes no sense to anyone, that someone will be excited about that. And it's kind of like, I say, "Yeah, kind of crazy, right? They're kind of crazy, right?" And he's like, yeah. What's the catch? I said, "Well, I'm not going to talk about what happens to all, because it's not germane to this conversation. I just want to get to the hot feature, because I think this is the coolest thing that I've ever seen and ever been a part of." I said, "So here's the deal, man. It's 3%, but 1%, right? So 1/3 of that is going into this thing called a degen voter wallet." I said, "It's a digital wallet." He said, "Yeah, I know what it is." I said, Great. So it's going to this degen voter wallet." I said, "And here's how this works, man. Just kind of picture this. I said, everybody who's holding $500 of Sosana or more, they're going to get, every 2 weeks we run this process, they're going to be able to nominate tokens, right? We're on a Solana network, so it's going to be a token project from the Solana network, and they get to look at that, study it, find the very best project that they can find. It's normally going to be an up-and-coming project, something that they think is hot. They love what it does, or they know the team behind it, or blah, 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 a whole bunch of different features, how they evaluate, but then they're going to come and nominate this, and they want to pick the best project that they can because they want to win, okay? And as long as you have $500 worth of, you're holding this in your wallet or more, you're in position to nominate, okay? And we're going to take 25 nominations, at least in the beginning. We might change that later, but in the beginning, we'll take up to 25 nominations. He said, okay, got it. I said, now, anybody who's holding $50 or more of Sosana, they get to vote, right? And I said, it's a locked, closed system, right? We don't know what's going on. We can't put our fingers on the scale or anything. It's all being done through this DApp. I don't know if you know what that is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's a secure, closed system. Nobody can see who anybody else is voting for. So they're literally they're looking at these 25 projects, and they're trying to figure out, in their estimation, from their research, which one is the best, so that they can hopefully pick the project that the most amount of people pick, so they can win, because winning is cool. And now here's where it gets interesting. And you ready? He said, yeah, I'm ready. I said, okay, great. I said, on Monday, so this is a 2-week process. So we come finally to what we're going to call DGen Voter Monday, right? Because it's going to be exciting. Because at 7:00 p.m. on that Monday, 7:00 p.m. Eastern, because we got people from all over the world, we're going to actually release to every single person in the entire community who has $50, who's holding $50 Sosana or more. They're all going to be able to see whether they voted or not. Hopefully they voted because they wanted to win the vote, but whether they voted or not, we're going to tell them, hey, here's the winner, right, of the thing, right? Here's the winner. And here's how that gets exciting. I said, because let's say it was XYZ token that won. I don't know why, by the way, guys, just aside, I don't know why I always say XYZ token. I don't know. I made it up one time and it just made sense. Eventually, there'll actually probably be an XYZ token, I guess. I don't know, but I always just say XYZ token. So let's say it was XYZ token that won, right? And I said, and let's say that our DGen voter wallet has accumulated over that 2 weeks $100,000. Here's what we're going to do, right? And this is why people are trying to do the best job they can do nominating and the best job they can do voting, because here's what's going to happen. We're letting everybody know at 7:00, right, who the winner is, how much money is in that DGen voter wallet, and then we're letting them know that what we're going to do for the winners is at 8:00, we're going to buy $100,000. We're going to liquidate this wallet, right? Whatever's in there, 100,000, 10,000, a million, whatever's in there, we're going to liquidate this wallet and buy the winning token. So in this case, we would buy $100,000 of XYZ token, and we will split it evenly among the winners. So quick math will tell you, if there were 100 people that voted for the right project and we have 100 winners, we buy $100,000 worth of XYZ token. We give each one of them $1,000 of XYZ token. And he was like, I said, do you understand it? He was like, yeah, I understand it. I said, excellent. Is that not the coolest thing you've ever heard of? He said, well, I mean, it's cool, right? I mean, it's cool. So you're saying that every 2 weeks, right? People have the opportunity to pick a project and they can win, and they only need to hold $50, and what they win could be far more than the $50. I said, yes. And he said, yeah, it's cool. I don't know if it's the coolest thing I've ever heard of, but I'm happy for you, man, that you're excited about it. And I said, you don't get it, do you? He said, what are you talking about? I said, okay, let me ask you a question. What do you think's going to happen to the price of XYZ token when we buy $100,000 of it? And he said, it's going to go up. And I said, yeah, I mean, yeah, we can't make guarantees, but I think most people would agree with you. He said, no, it's going to go up. And I said, okay, you're the authority. Okay, it's going to go up. I said, great. So you answered that first question. Okay, so $100,000 purchase of XYZ token, you believe it's going to go up. He said, it's definitely going to go up. I said, okay, great. Second question, seems like a trick question, but it's not. How much time exists between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock? So 7 o'clock when we told you what we were going to do, and 8 o'clock when we actually do it. And he looks at me and he says, holy crap. Now, being fair, he didn't say crap, but I'm going to be cool for the thing. We're going to go with holy crap. And I said, now you're getting it. I said, because between 7:01 and 7:59, what are you very likely to do? He said, I'm going to buy some XYZ token. I said, yeah, you are, aren't you? And I said, how much are you going to buy? He said, you know me, bro. Like, I'll probably go in for a couple of grand, man. Maybe more. He was like, holy crap. Again, didn't say crap, but we're going to go with crap. And I said, now you got it. And he said, how many people know about this? And I said, well, listen, the community, I just told you, right? The community is going to anybody who had $50 or more is all going to have the ability to know about this at 7 o'clock. I said, so let's think about this for a second, because you think most people would agree with you that if they knew that a $100,000 purchase was going to happen, that in all likelihood, the price, just like you said, would probably go up. Can't guarantee it, right? But that's probably what's going to happen. He said, of course they would. Of course they would. And I said, okay. So you're excited about this $100,000 purchase. And he said, yeah. And I said, and you were saying you would probably buy a couple $1,000s, hoping to get a big price bump and be able to make some profits. He said, yeah. I said, so let's say that we had 10,000 people in the community that knew about this. And let's say none of them are ballers like you who are just going to throw thousands of dollars. Let's say that on average, maybe some of them throw a little, hundreds, and some of them throw, tens of dollars, whatever. But let's just say on average, those 10,000 people put in $100 each of buying XYZ token between 7:01 and 7:59. I said, do you realize that's $1 million? And his eyes got big. And I said, if you think 100,000 at 8 o'clock is gonna take the price up, what do you think $1 million between 7:01 and 7:59 is going to do to the price? You guys already know what he said, right? You know what he said. Yes, he said it again. And I said, man, now, if $1 million in this example went in between 7:01 and 7:59, do you believe that other people that are currently a part of the crypto world who don't know anything about Sosana, anything about XYZ token, but all of a sudden see XYZ token pop up on their trending category, XYZ token has increased 3,000% in the last 15 minutes. Do you think some of them are going to be fear of loss and they're going to jump in too? He is like, oh man, we are going to be rich. It's exactly what he said. We are going to be rich. And I said, that is the plan. That is the plan. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Man, that's a big napkin. You're right. I had to turn the napkin over and do this part of it, right? But I know, but that was the napkin part of the napkin presentation. So then he said, well, let me ask you this, man. Let me ask you this. And I knew when he said this, I was going to have to grab my wife's napkin. How can I get involved? Man, how can I really get involved, man? Seriously, like really take this all the way. And I said, well, I know you're like an all-in guy. You've got some experience or whatever, but check this out, man. This is for people from all different levels, And I said, so, the first way a person can get involved is just completely passive, right? They could buy some tokens, tuck them away, check back in 6 months to a year, right? I think it will be a great decision. Right? Again, we can't make the guarantee, but you just saw what we're doing, right? Where do you think the price of the Sosana token would be probably in 6 months to a year as more and more people are finding out about this and they all want to be a part of it? He said, yeah, I think it's going to be through the roof. I said, okay, so if you believe that, but you don't have time, you don't want to be involved, you just want to maybe get something that can make you some money for the future, Completely passive. Buy some tokens, as many as you want, right? Blah, 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 blah. And he said, okay. And I said, here's another thing though. You could buy and vote. You could buy $50 or more. Okay. Yeah. I mean, more is completely up to you, but at least $50, right? So you have at least $50 of tokens at all time. So you can be involved in the DGen voting business every 2 weeks, right? Vote every 2 weeks and see if you win. I mean, that would be cool. You got $50 in there, but you win. Maybe you get $80, of XYZ token. Maybe you get 500. Maybe you get 1,000, maybe in the future you get more, who knows, right? But that's a pretty good thing to have, especially as the value of your Sosana token could be potentially going up. But now you've got another way to make profits just by involving yourself in this vote once every 2 weeks. It's a great way for you to potentially build a portfolio, make some additional money, have some additional profits. I said the third way is you could buy, vote, play, BVP, I call it, buy, vote, play. I actually wrote BVP, but I put it up here for you guys so you can see what it actually means. You can buy, vote, play, buy $50 or more, vote every 2 weeks, see if you win, and also position yourself during what I like to call action hour, 7:01 to 7:59, right? Right after you found out until right before you know that this big buy is going to happen, and see if you can increase your crypto profits, right? Again, we're not allowed to make guarantees, man. I'm actually part of the team that's doing this. So we got to be real careful how we say this. We can't promise or make guarantees, but I asked you what you thought was going to happen, and you did not hesitate saying that price is going to go up. You even challenged me when I said maybe. You said definitely, right? You said, yeah, it's going to go up. I said, okay, there you are. I know you're the expert, not me. So buy, vote, play. Said the other way you might want to get involved, though, you can buy, vote, play, and become an affiliate, man. So you buy, you vote every 2 weeks, you get involved in Action Hour, but you also become an affiliate with us and earn additional Sosana tokens by sharing this with others because you're helping us build the community. As you might imagine, bigger that community get. I showed you what would happen if we had 100,000 in the DGen voter wallet and 10,000 people in the community spend $100. Imagine if we had 1 million in a DGen voter wallet. 100,000 people in the community each spending $100 in an hour. Think about that math. Think about those numbers. Think about what that could potentially do to the price of a token. Think about what that could do to skyrocket your profits. Anybody helping us do this, man, they have a lot of extra value, not just, for themselves, but also to the community as a whole. So yeah, there's definitely a way for you to get some additional Sosana tokens there, man, and to kind of build up your Sosana mass accumulation faster than any of the first three. I said the final way, man, though, is you can buy, vote, play, become an affiliate, and build to the whale level, brother. You do all that other stuff we just talked about, but now you're setting yourself up to earn huge quantities of Sosana tokens by helping to develop other leaders who are going to go out there and do the same stuff. Any questions? And he said, yeah. 2, what the heck is an affiliate, right? And what are you talking about whale level? I think I don't know if I missed that. He's looking on the other side of the napkin. He's like, I don't know if I missed it. I said, no. Good questions, man. Good questions. So here's the thing. We have this affiliate program that we are setting up to launch, man, that is going to do something better than everybody else out there. It's going to build community. It's going to, first of all, we've got this incredible aspect of it just from an educational standpoint. And by the way, guys, that you're watching this right now live or watching this on video, you are now privy to getting the first look at our LMS site, where this is the actual LMS demo site that we put together for affiliates, where it's going to show you how you can educate yourself, right? So this is just a small piece of what we're doing. I wanted to share this. So I got permission from Mr. Track to share this with everybody tonight. But again, I didn't draw this out on the napkin. I just told him, I said, but hey, we're going to have people. It doesn't matter whether you are a person who barely can spell cryptocurrency, who doesn't even know when we say BTC, what that means. You don't know that that's Bitcoin, right? Or a person who's been around and is, fairly experienced, or a person who was a flat out genius in crypto. We got a place for you, because for the people who can barely spell it and don't understand it, we're going to have all these courses where they can learn the ins and outs of crypto, learn how to pick better projects. So they're not only helping themselves, in essence, have a better shot at winning when we're doing the DGen vote, but they're also becoming more valuable to the community because the more people that are educated in doing this, the better we're going to be at nominating quality projects, picking quality projects, ultimately helping people build their portfolio better, et cetera, but ultimately upping people's crypto and blockchain game because crypto and blockchain is the future. And for those superstar geniuses, man, who already know this stuff, who were the early adopters, man, who have crypto in their blood, they're going to have the opportunity to become Sosana certified instructors, which creates a whole new potential revenue stream for them because now they can actually teach classes and they can get in there and they can provide more value to the community and they can be paid as instructors once they get certified. It's going to be real cool, man. The way it's going to interact, people have different badges that show their different accomplishments and things of that nature. Everybody's going to, do you know what KYC is? He was like, no. I said, well, it's a way for us to know that we're dealing with real people and not pretend people, not scammers, not bots. People will be KYC'd so we can actually work with each other within the community. It's going to be safe for everybody so they can learn and not be taken advantage of. So it's going to be really cool, man. And I said, we're going to have, this, the best talent, man. It's going to be an active community. We got something coming called, you ever hear of the Better Business Bureau? He said, yeah. I said, what do you go to the Better Business Bureau for? He said, yeah, to see what other people are saying about a business and how it's rated. I said, imagine a better token bureau. He's like, get the hell. Yeah, man. Yeah, dude, this is going to be so incredible what we put together, but we're giving people the ability to up their crypto game. And even what I just told you is a small piece of the affiliate program. Now, you asked me about the whale status and how do I get all these extra tokens, man? We have this cool 3-level affiliate program. Everybody, when they start off, it's just a few levels, but it's a way for you to juice up your bank, if you will, of Sosana tokens because you're paid in tokens. So as you refer other people, you'll start off, and I just wrote the numbers down real quick. Level 1, 20%, level 2, 15, level 3, 15%. He was like, that's really generous. I said, it is. But for the people who want to go out and really take it to the next level, we got a few ranks for them, man. We got a DGen rank, so they'll get a raise here. We then have a hodler rank as they start becoming a leader, so they get more of a raise, and then they can go to that whale thing that I mentioned, man. And that whale thing, man, they're up to 25, 20, and 35%. And I said, the cool thing about that, you have some network marketing experience. The cool thing is the biggest percentage you ever get paid in network marketing normally is what you do personally, but it's not off of where you have the most people. Guys, as you notice this, we're paying more on the 3rd level than on the 1st level by the time you get the whale, because that's where the majority of your people are going to be. We're giving you the most amount of tokens off the most amount of activity. This is what I'm talking about massive accumulation of it. And here's the best part. The people who come out the gate and do this the fastest, they'll be getting their commissions at probably the cheapest price that Sosana will ever be, which means as Sosana becomes more valuable, those commissions you're getting paid today could 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x, 50x, just how long you want to hold it, man, how long you want to go for the ride. He was like, I am so in this thing, man. So in this thing. You gotta give me a link. Now, I said something to him that you guys would not say in that situation. I said, well, hey, man, I'm part of the core team. I can't build a team, but I will get you the link of our master distributor and you can sign up and then we can talk about a plan for you, right? Right now, we're in a pre-build. We're about to launch this in a couple of weeks, but this gives you the ability to talk to people about it, get them excited, sign them up for free. People like to get positioned for free, build a big giant team for free. And then when we turn it on, and everybody has to pay, what do you get? And he was like, an explosion of commissions. I said, yeah, not an explosion of money, an explosion of Sosana commissions, which is even better than an explosion of money. He was like, oh, bro, love it, man. So I said, listen, bro, make your list, make your plan, make your fortune, and I'm going to get you that link. And that was it. So I got to tell you guys something, man. When I was telling somebody that story and they said, you should share that because people would get a lot of benefit out of that, I had to put this together, man, and share it with the community because I want you guys to know that all we literally think about every single day is how can we help the community the most? How can we empower the community the most? How can we actually get people to up their knowledge level, up their game, up their skill set the most so they can go out there and they can most effectively spread this word? Because as they spread the word, the people that are in the community right now, you guys are the pioneers. You're going to benefit the most.